welcome back. My name is Melissa Ashcraft, and this is a new horse one of my clients just got. His name is Jack. He is a Lepizan. I forgot how old he is, but he's really, really cute. So he just got here. His owners haven't even really gotten a chance to ride him yet, so I'm kind of tuning him up for him. He is doing really nice, but he is slightly a little heavier, especially going to the left than I would like. So I'm going to try to see if I can get him to kind of soften up. And he gets a little quick. So the using my half halts and doing the same stuff I'm going to use to get him light should help with getting him to slow down as well. So before I start off, this is not a dressage thing. This is more of a horsemanship thing. If you do this in a dressage ring, they will probably drop their champagne glasses. Even though I'm a Grand Prix rider, it's the truth. So first thing is I want to see if I can get him to bend like this and follow. So he passed that test perfectly. So good, passed that test perfectly. Okay, so then the next step is if I want to know if I kind of bend him a little bit so I can see like the inside of his eye. If I squeeze with my inside leg, will he step under? And he did. Okay, so those are the two recipes that I need in order to get him to get light and soft off of my hands. So we've talked about in my previous videos, above the bit, on the bit, behind the bit. We've talked about bend, rhythm. We've talked about everything, but now we're gonna put it all together, okay? So, bend. I wanna see just the inside of his eye, the inside of his nose. His neck should be straight, maybe a soft bend. As an instructor, day to day, all I do is teach everybody, no matter what level, almost the same thing. A lot of riders want to ride here, and that doesn't necessarily work. That usually gets your horse tense here and here. So your horse is a direct reflection of you. So I'm going to make sure I stay really, really loose, and then I'm going to actually open up and think about, I always tell my students, ride pinky to the top of your hip, and you actually want to open, because if you watch, my horse is going to be the judge of it, what button works. If you watch and see if I pull straight back, he'll kind of drop his nose, but he's tight in the neck. Because again, I'm working this muscle, and that muscle just got tight. This muscle right here is what I need him to soften. And you can always tell a properly trained horse, because a horse that kind of runs around U-necked or runs around tight is going to have tight, will have here, U-neck, and above the bit they're going to have a huge neck muscle here. A horse that's been worked properly will have a thick round neck all the way through. So Jack likes to kind of get a little heavy and like down into my hands, and it gets stiff. So every time it gets heavy and too long, if you watch, I'm going to add leg. If I add leg, it lifts the pull. So most students make a really common mistake that if they want their head to come up, they will pull their head up. You don't want to do that because they're already heavy. So what you need to do instead is again, anytime I need his pull to come up, I'm just going to use my legs, and he should lift like that. Okay? So from there, I'm going to use my legs to drive the hindquarters underneath. Good. Use a little bit of leg. And now I'm going to open my hand to the top outside of my hip and squeeze with my leg. If you watch, the minute I do that, do a little vibration, he'll drop and he'll get soft. So I tell you guys a lot that I don't necessarily, you don't want to think about pulling your horse around. Instead, you want to think about pushing your horse around. So I'm going to hold my outside. I'm going to use my inside leg and my inside rein and try to just get him to supple and soften like that. And you see, as I use my inside leg, inside rein, you want to imagine that you're pushing them to the outside. So can you see that when I use my inside leg, I'm actually asking this leg to step underneath him and go to this front leg. So if you ride with any English instructor, especially English instructors, but just about every instructor, they're going to tell you to ride the inside hind to the outside front. So what that means is I'm going to add leg and almost imagine pushing him over like that. The minute I do that, Jack instantly gets light. Okay? So in order to fix this, I got to hit the gas, And then you'll see me kind of fight with him a little bit. And what I'm doing is I'm not fighting with him. I want to explain really quick what I'm going to be doing. Okay, so I just want to explain my cues a little bit. So at some points it's going to look like we're fighting. I'm a really big person on supple and your horse carrying themselves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to stay open, and I actually cheat for my horses a lot more than my mentor does. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold, and I'm going to make sure that my arms are elastic, okay? So if you see us fighting a little bit, it's really not because I'm doing anything. I'm just kind of telling him, get off my hands and hold himself. So what you want to do is you want to imagine that you're like a natural lungy bungee. That's my favorite thing to use. It's actually called a bungee lungy. And that's like it's pure elastic, and it's got these little buckets on it. That's like really the only training aid that I use. All of my bits I use are just usually loose ring snaffles, but literally the only training aid that I will use is a bungee lungy. And that's because it's the only thing I found that actually stretches with your horse a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to mirror that. If for those of you that don't know what a bungee lungy is, it's like a extra elastic side reins, basically. So you're gonna be extra elastic side reins, but at the same time, the side reins are there, okay? So a lot of my riders do this, they do this, they do this. If I could just make everyone stay soft, ride in between your shoulder blades, and what I mean by that is I move like this. And if you see, if I'm moving in between my shoulder blades, that it naturally moves everything with them. Again, your horse is a direct reflection of you. So if I lock my shoulders, he's gonna lock his shoulders. If I lock my hands and arms, he's gonna lock his neck. My hands is his mouth. So everything's gotta be loose and gummy. All right, so with that being said, if you see him pull and hang on me, what I'm gonna do in that moment is I'm gonna stay loose, but I'm gonna kind of hold my ground, and he has to feel the give, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold, and I'm gonna keep just softly vibrating my fingers. And again, I mean softly, like less is more. It's like a violinist. They're not doing this, they're doing this, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold, and I'm gonna stay supple with my shoulders when he locks on me. And every time I meet, I'm just gonna do a little vibration. When he gives to the pressure, I will supple up with them, and I'll give as well. But the thing is I'm not going to give until he gives. Horses learn from the release of pressure. So if he hangs on me and I just say, oh, then I gave him what he wanted. I told him that, well, that's fine. Every time that you want me to stop, messing with my hands, then you just go ahead and pull on me and I'll give. That's not what we want. We need a partner. We need them to work together. So a trained horse, when you add leg and ease back, they should come back and supple with you. He knows better, but there you go. Perfect. Okay, so I had to stick in there. And then I give. So I'm gonna always make sure that I hold both legs, hold both reins. I'm gonna look where I'm going with my head, shoulder, belly button. And then from there, if I let Jack just go straight, boom, now he's like 500 pounds in my hands, right? So if I lift him and just get him to step under like this, and just ask him to give his jaw. This is his worst way. He's not as bad the other way. I'm just gonna ask him to relax his jaw, and now he's light and supple in my hands. Okay, so another one common mistake that I see, it happens all the time. I get a rider to this point and I say, okay, now, perfect, posting trot. And they say, okay, boom. And that, as a instructor, trainer, drives you nuts. Because the only reason that I told you, okay, posting trot, is because like, okay, we got him. He's where you want him, he's light, he's soft, now just keep riding that. My barn's name is Transitions. One of the reasons I named that is because riding your transition in a horse, in my belief, is the most important thing that you can do. It doesn't matter if you're a lower level or Grand Prix. If you don't ride your transition for whatever maneuver you're doing, whether it's an upward transition or down, it's gonna fall apart. So your transition is the most important part of your ride. Riding your half halts, transitioning, and keeping it all together. Okay, so what I'm gonna do As I'm not gonna say, okay, Jack, now try, and throw them away. That's actually working harder. I have another joke that my students say, oh, you make it look so easy. And I laugh and say, well, you make it look so hard. Because it's not as hard as people make it is. Most people think about, I have to do this with my hands and this with my hands, and oh, I gotta do this with my legs. You think about too much. Instead, just think both legs on, both reins on, look where I'm going, little vibration with my inside. Good. I'm gonna do a little bit of posting. Good. So now, all I'm doing is imagine that I'm leg heeling, so he's a little heavy in my hands now. So I'm gonna use inside leg and push him over, and I'm just doing a little vibration. Good. And now he just got off my hands, and he got a nice big trot. Good. Now, since he is kind of heavier, one thing I'm gonna do is I guarantee you he's gonna have a really sticky back up. Yep, there it is. And then I'm gonna trot back off. Good. So usually horses that are sticky and locked are gonna have a pretty crummy back up. Good. So see how he's kind of hanging on me? Inside leg, inside rein, gotta get him off. Good, stop. Back up. Now, I do not suggest this if you have a light, spunky horse. Don't do too much of that, because they could rear up on you. I'm only doing this because Jack needs to kind of get going and get moving. So, we're gonna ride him around. I'm gonna go walk, trot, canter. Now the thing is I have to stop while I'm ahead. If this is another mistake that people make. When I get what I want, in the beginning you'll see me stop and walk and hang out a lot. It's because I just got what I wanted. So instead of fighting with them and keep pushing, I'm gonna say thank you. That's all I wanted, and make it easy for them. And then as I go, I'm gonna go more and more and more and more. So I'm gonna let him take just a quick break and a walk, and we'll pick it up in a minute, and we'll do the trot and canter. Good? Okay, so he's done. He just walked around for a little bit, so now I'm gonna pick him back up. Again, when I pick him back up, I always wanna use 3 times the amount of leg for what my hands are doing. So I'm gonna just squeeze, I'm not gonna nag him, so just as promised. So you see, as soon as I squeezed, he started to activate his hind end, and he lifted up his pole. So now I'm gonna hold this outside, and now I'm gonna ask him to bend again. Good. And I want self-carriage. I want him to be like Jello in my hands. So in order to do that, I'm gonna add more leg. Good. Good. And then I'm gonna hold. I'm gonna do little supple, 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 and then boom. Do you see how soft and light he just got there? I don't want him behind the bit though. If he comes behind the bit, I'm just gonna use a little less hands and a little bit more leg. So now he's above the bit, and he's almost perfect. Dressage, they're so picky. But there, now he's perfect. And now he kind of rested into it. So, okay, so we're gonna ride the transition. I'm gonna hold, work my inside, little vibration. Good, keep them together. So right now he's locked and stiff on me. So I'm gonna start to drive him around. I'm gonna start to go inside leg, inside rein. Good, get him to push under. Inside leg, inside rein. Good, and make him think about going sideways. Good, he's a little heavier than I want, so I'm gonna add leg, hit the gas. Good. Good. That's very pretty. Good. So then the other thing is I'm not gonna be there for him to hang on. I'm gonna hold, do a little vibration, and then give. One of the sayings that I have for my students is why would they fight and hold if you don't give them anything to fight and hold on? So, oh, there you go. All of my half halts, I'm gonna get in, vibrate, vibrate, vibrate. As soon as he gets off, get off. Good. Passing it back up. I'm gonna do all that again. That was a little bit lighter. Good job, Jack. Good, and I'm gonna do it again. Get him to step under, vibrate, vibrate. Good, get him to go lighter and softer here. Good, I'm gonna keep that bend. Good, right, my downward transition. Good. For a heavy horse, transitions, transitions, transitions. Good. I'm gonna keep working them off my inside leg, inside rein. Good, get them nice and forward. And one more time. Good. And back to a trot. So again, he got heavy, so I've got to keep pushing him around. Good. So, I hope that helped. We will keep making more videos with Jack, and we'll keep doing different common mistakes and problems for horses. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next week.